Part 7 of my Super Mario Brothers movie should have been better. Now that I'm done jumping around trying to keep my critique of the characters together, I wanted to cover one aspect of Peach that I feel needs to be addressed, that I missed. Let's get back to it. Starting off with Toad meeting Peach and Mario on the trail to the Jungle Kingdom. I also call it the Kong Kingdom. As far as I'm concerned, they're interchangeable. I know why he is in the movie at this point, and that's to drive the plot forward. Not to mention he's a big part of the cartoons, and I guess a sort of minor character throughout the games, although playable in some of the later ones. I almost thought he was the comic relief, but he's hardly in the movie. I mean, that he hardly even speaks. And I can think of only one scene where that might apply, and that is later on when he rolls out on his cart. Toad can be taken out of the movie and put back in when Peach surrenders, and nothing would be missed. Then there's the traveling montage. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's mostly visual references to the games. The only real thing that stands out are the Yoshis, or Yoshi, I'm not sure which. And that's because of the end credit scene that mimics the 1997 Godzilla movie ending. But it lacks any real impact since you see all the Yoshis during this montage. I guess it's green and in Brooklyn, but it seems most people thought it lacked any real impact. Let's move on to the scene with the field of fire flowers. I already covered how Peach arrived in the Mushroom Kingdom, but I have to wonder why the Toads would make her their princess. Build her a castle and just be devoted to her. In the original Super Mario Bros. Instruction manual, there is a king mushroom slash toadstool. It makes no sense to install a random person as a monarch. I'm not going to insult people by explaining how monarchies work, but making her a princess because of reasons is just bad writing. They could have left out Peach's origin and no one would have questioned it. Even Peach being adopted by the Mushroom King would have been better than just her being a princess because that's what she is in the games. The writing for this movie is just terrible. Instead of building her character and giving the Toads a reason to be loyal, they just made them automatically loyal to her for no reason other than that she's the princess. This could have been a journey for Peach as well as Mario, having her prove herself as an untested leader, willing to do anything to protect her people and earn their trust. She does go to the Kongs to get their armory and a half-baked plan, and I'll get to that. She could step into the role as an ambassador, going to the Kong Kingdom to get help to fight Bowser, adding more weight to her showing up personally to ask for aid, or have her sneak out of the castle to avoid the overprotective nature of the Toads. Anything other than just her being the princess. This was just lazy storytelling. There could have been some depth to this by drawing parallels to Mario having an overprotective nature of Luigi, and the Toads protecting Peach. The Toads learning to not be so overbearing. Mario learns to not coddle Luigi, and Luigi learns to face his fear and not rely on Mario to protect him when it comes to confrontations. The other thing that stands out is her mention of other worlds. There is a rumor, or maybe just speculation at this point, of a Nintendo Cinematic Universe. But with The Legend of Zelda getting a live-action treatment, which I have stated before is a mistake, especially partnering with Sony, but that is a whole different can of worms, and I'm sure I will end up covering it in the future. I will also admit I may be reading too much into the line, but who knows at this point. Then there's the Kong Kingdom, or the Jungle Kingdom. In terms of the games, the whole segment is just wrong on a fundamental level. Donkey Kong lives in a shack in the middle of a jungle. It feels like they took a plot element from the Donkey Kong Country TV show and expanded upon it. That being, there is a Kong Kingdom, and Donkey Kong would be the leader of the Kongs. The TV show is bad. And at this point in time, you can see it on Amazon Prime Video. Anyways, the writers did what they have been doing and take something from the games, or in this case, the TV series, and make it bigger, adding a whole expansive kingdom and not an ape in a shack with a horde of bananas. The weird thing is, they have this combination of technology, contemporary clothing, with a mixture of primitive structures and roadways. There are carts on wooden roadways on top of steel girders, but there are huts with straw rooftops. I'm getting Black Panther vibes from this whole thing, along with parts of the Jungle Book. And for some odd reason, it makes me think of Michael Crichton's book Congo, and I guess the movie to some degree as well. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. We all know why the carts are used, and that is because they wanted to make a reference to Mario Kart. After all, this entire thing is just a marketing vehicle for the games. It just feels out of place to make the Kongs the vehicle for the source of the carts when they live in a treehouse in the games. So, just like previous parts, I have another issue with the use of a pop song in the movie, and in this case, Take On Me. I almost thought I was watching a different movie when trying to remember the song, and I googled it, and it kept getting results with the same scene of Mario and Peach being driven through the city with a different song, driving me bananas, but it was a fan edit. Nope, that's it. I don't like that they used another well-known pop song. Like I said, a lot of these songs just feel out of place. Moving on to when Peach and Mario meet with Cranky Kong, I would say Cranky Kong is less cranky and more surly and condescending, which works for a monarch, but again, Cranky Kong was never a monarch in the games. So remember when I said Peach's plan to protect the Toads was half-baked or flawed? Well, this is where it comes in. So Cranky somehow knows that Peach wants his army to fight for the Mushroom Kingdom. How he knows this was never addressed, almost like parts were left out, or they just wrote that he knew why she was there. It is just another case of a character knowing things they should not know. When Cranky humors her as to why he should help her, she gives a dumb answer, and I'm not sure if she's referring to herself and Mario or if she's including the Toads. You know, the people who think they are adorable and seem unwilling to fight. And let's face it, later in the movie, just run away. This is where the huge flaw comes in. And Cranky just casually says no and tells her to go away.
The answer is no. Goodbye.
Remember, she made zero contingency plans and went all in on getting the Kong army. The only thing that she says that makes any sense is the Kong Kingdom is next after the Mushroom Kingdom. The one problem with that is the only fighters that the Mushroom Kingdom can muster are Peach and Toad. Mario just happens to be there, so I guess he would count as well. So it seems to me that the Kongs would take all the brunt of the fight and all the casualties of the resulting fight. There's not much of a reason to fight for the Toads when they are doing nothing. On top of that, they would be giving up the advantage of fighting in their own kingdom to fight for the Mushroom Kingdom, that again has made zero effort to fortify and prepare for an attack. Or I might just be overthinking it again. And fortunately for Peach, and to be clear, despite my best efforts, I always sound bored whenever I record, I am being facetious. Mario interrupts and Cranky Kong, instead of dismissing Mario, just like he did Peach, says he can have his army if he beats Donkey Kong. I don't like filling in gaps or what characters thought, but if I were to guess, he did this because 1, he wants to teach Mario a lesson. 2, he thought it would be a safe bet. And 3, This reason has to do more with social norms. I'm sure Peach fighting Donkey Kong would be negatively looked down on if he was beating on Peach the same way he did Mario. On top of that, I'm sure the fight would have been one sided with Peach dominating the fight if it did happen. When they transition to the arena, I can sort of appreciate Mario's first fight being against Donkey Kong in an attempt to sort of reference the first level of the Donkey Kong arcade by filling it with steel girders. I guess I should point out Diddy and Daisy with the possibility of Donkey Kong being a spin off movie, but they were just a reference to the games. The biggest problem I have with the Kongs as a whole, and I did not mention this earlier, is that they can talk. Donkey Kong does not speak, even in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. And part of why I'm not a fan of the whole Jungle Kingdom or Kong Kingdom thing that they did for this movie. Donkey Kong expresses himself by emoting and has conveyed his emotions without having to guess what he's thinking in the games. The other part is he's voiced by Seth Rogen, and he does that dumb laugh of his. I have no idea why he's in this movie, other than someone thought bringing him in would get butts in seats. Then there's the fight itself. Remember when I said Peach trained Mario was used in the loosest terms possible? So Mario has seen a total of 2 power-ups at this point, and personally I think of it as a failure on her part that all she did was shove a mushroom down his throat, because he embarrasses himself as a gag by eating a mini mushroom, because Peach did not teach a thing other than power-ups exist. This is why I think they should have integrated the traveling montage and the obstacle montage, integrating the different power-ups in the new scene. The highlight of the whole thing is Mario in a cat suit, but I might just be a bit biased in that regards. Okay, how would I make it better? Well, the obvious is not having Seth Rogen voice Donkey Kong, but I would stick with the games more and have him in a shack with his banana horde, making his ape-like noises from the games. In terms of the story, I would have Mario and Peach making it to the jungle after the traveling slash training montage, looking for Donkey Kong. I would also have Toad and Luigi getting to the jungle. I would have Donkey Kong watching Toad and Luigi from a distance, being cautious of the two. And this movie isn't even the first time they've actually had Donkey Kong go up against the forces of Bowser. I'll just play a clip from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I would have Toad trip or stumble, causing the Power Star to fall out of his backpack, with Donkey Kong seeing it, and have him go after it due to becoming enthralled by the star, swooping down and grabbing it, and Luigi timidly approaching him asking for it back, and Donkey Kong doing what apes do when they try to hide things from people, and grasping it and turning away with a contemptuous noise. He would then flee with a star, with Toad and Luigi giving chase, calling after him in vain. Peach and Mario would hear them calling, and Mario, upon hearing Luigi's voice, would spring off in his direction, with Peach following. The 4 of them would meet up with a happy moment between their brothers, but would be interrupted with Toad letting Peach know about the star, and they would set out after Donkey Kong. I would have them chase him down, resulting in the fight between Mario and Donkey Kong, with Mario winning, but in the process the star would be stolen by Bowser's forces. So while editing this video together, They had a Nintendo Direct featuring the Donkey Kong expansion to the Universal theme park in Japan. See that hut on the right? Yeah, I feel vindicated now. With that, I'll call it for now. If you made it this far, thanks for watching.